The dying world. The smoke rose from Korvath Prime in columns so thick they blotted out the twin suns. Yelena Korskaya stood at the observation window of the central spire, watching her world die. Her reflection in the cracked glass showed every one of her 50 cycles, the silver markings along her temples, the tired set of her shoulders, the hollow look in her amber eyes. "Another city gone," General Thane Vorik announced from behind her, his voice rough as gravel. He limped to her side, his legs still healing from the last engagement. "Harvester forces have breached the northern continent. We have maybe 48 hours before they reach the capital shelters." Yelena closed her eyes. The Harvesters, that's what her people called them. Faceless machines that consumed everything in their path. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. They simply appeared, destroyed, and moved on. 15 worlds in the Korvathi alliance had already fallen. Their fleets, once the pride of this sector, were scattered wreckage floating in dead space. "The Council wants to surrender," Thane said quietly. "The Council is full of fools," Yelena replied. "The Harvesters don't accept surrender. They don't negotiate, they harvest." A chime interrupted them. A young officer rushed in, her uniform stained with dust from the latest bombardment. Mira Voss was barely into her second cycle of service, too young to have known peacetime, too young to carry the weight in her eyes. "Council Leader Korskaya," Mira said, breathless. "The communications array, it's still functional. The engineers found one transmitter with enough power for a long-range broadcast." Yelena turned sharply. "How long range?" "Theoretically. The entire sector. Maybe beyond." Mira's hands trembled as she held out a data tablet. "We could send a distress signal." Thane barked a bitter laugh. "To who?" "Every civilization within range either bows to the Harvesters or hides from them." "Who would come?" But Yelena was already moving toward the communications center, her stride purposeful for the first time in weeks. "Someone might, someone must." She glanced back at Thane. "What choice do we have? Pride is a luxury the living enjoy, General. We're already dead. This is just our final breath." The communications center hummed with desperate energy. Technicians worked frantically, rerouting power from life support systems that no longer supported much life. Mira's fingers flew across the console, crafting the message that would be their last hope or their final humiliation. "Keep it simple," Yelena instructed. "No politics, no history, just the truth." Mira nodded, typing the words that would echo across the stars. "We are the Korvathi. We are dying. If anyone can hear this, we need help, please." The beacon launched at sunset, if you could call it sunset, when the sky burned red with fire instead of fading light. A column of energy pierced the smoke-choked atmosphere, carrying their desperate plea into the infinite dark. Yelena, Thane, and Mira watched it rise in silence. "Do you think anyone will answer?" Mira whispered. Yelena placed a hand on the young officer's shoulder. "I think the universe is crueler than we imagined and kinder than we deserve. We'll know which soon enough." The beacon disappeared into the void. Below, the Harvesters' machines continued their advance, oblivious to the Korvathi's final gambit. In the shelters, children asked their parents when the monsters would stop. On the streets, soldiers prepared for battles they couldn't win, and somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, humanity heard the call. The response captain, James Reeves, stood on the bridge of the UHNS Perseverance, his hands clasped behind his back as he studied the holographic display. The distress signal played again, translated into a dozen languages, but the desperation needed no translation. "Sir, we've confirmed the source," Lieutenant Sofia Mendez reported from the navigation station. Her dark eyes reflected the blue glow of the star charts. "Korvathi Space, Sector 7, approximately 6 weeks at maximum burn." 6 weeks, James repeated. He was a man carved from granite and patience, 42 years old with gray threading through his black hair. "What do we know about these Harvesters?" Sophia pulled up archived data. Fragments mostly. Automated war machines, origin unknown. They've wiped out 3 minor civilizations in the past decade. No communication attempts successful. They just consume. James watched the timeline of destruction. Worlds burning. Civilizations erased. He thought of Earth, of the colonies, of humanity's hard-won peace after the unification wars. How easily it could all vanish. "Contact Fleet Command," he said quietly. "Recommend immediate humanitarian intervention." "Sir?" Sophia looked up, surprised. The Korvathi, we've never even met them. They're outside our territory. The Council might not. The Council will see what I see, James interrupted, his voice steady. A species crying for help. And if we turn away now, what does that make us? Within 24 hours, his transmission reached Earth, Mars, the Jovian stations, and every colony in between. James had expected debate, hesitation, political maneuvering. Instead, he got something else entirely. Admiral Marcus Chen's weathered face appeared on the view screen from Fleet Command. Captain Reeves, your recommendation is approved, but it's more than approved. It's become something bigger. James frowned. Sir? Every fleet in human space has volunteered, Marcus said, and there was something like awe in his voice. Military, civilian, corporate, everyone. They heard the signal. They heard someone dying, and they want to answer. How many ships? James asked. All of them. The gathering took 3 days. James watched from the observation deck as vessels of every size and class converged on the rally point. Battlecruisers from the Earth Defense, Fleet, fast attack corvettes from Mars, heavy, carriers from the Belt, even civilian, transports retrofitted with whatever weapons their crews could mount. Dr. Nadia Ivanova found him there, her medical insignia bright on her white uniform. She was 36, with dark blonde hair pulled back efficiently, and eyes that had seen too much suffering in field hospitals across the colonies. Quite a sight, Nadia said softly, standing beside him. Terrifying, James agreed. We're showing the galaxy exactly what humanity looks like when we move together. Is that bad? Depends on who's watching. He glanced at her. You didn't have to volunteer for this, Doctor. You could have stayed at the research station. Nadia smiled faintly. And miss first contact with a dying species. Besides, Captain, someone needs to teach you military types that not everything is solved with missiles. Sometimes it is. And sometimes, she countered, what comes after the missiles matters more. The final count shocked even James. 417 ships. Humanity hadn't assembled a fleet this size since the Unification Wars, and that had been humanity fighting itself. This was different. This was humanity united, moving as one toward strangers they'd never met. Sophia approached with a data pad. Sir, we're ready. All ships report green across the board. We're just waiting for your order. James took one last look at the Armada, at the accumulated might of an entire species. Then he activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Captain Reeves. We didn't ask for this responsibility. We didn't seek to be saviors, but someone called for help and we answered. Not because we had to, because we could. Because one day it might be us crying into the dark. Let's show the Korvathi, and anyone else watching, what humanity stands for. He nodded to Sophia. Take us out. Full burn to Korvathi space. 417 ships turned as one, their engines blazing like a river of stars, and disappeared into the void. On Korvath Prime, Yelena Korskaya stood in the command center, staring at the display that had been silent for days. Thane had stopped checking it. Mira still watched, hope dying slowly in her eyes. Then the display lit up. A voice, clear and strong, speaking in carefully translated Korvathi. This is humanity. We hear your call. Help is coming, Mira gasped. Thane's breath caught. Yelena felt tears on her cheeks for the first time since the invasion began. How many? She whispered into the transmitter. How many can you send? The pause seemed eternal. Then the response came, simple and absolute. All of us. The gathering storm, the first human ship appeared at the edge of Korvathi space like a ghost stepping through a curtain. Then another. Then 10 more. Mira Voss watched the scanners in disbelief as the numbers climbed. 50 ships, 100, 200. They're still coming, she breathed. Council leader, they're still coming. Yelena stood frozen, watching the tactical display transform into something unprecedented. The human fleet spread across space in perfect formation, each ship finding its place like pieces of a vast puzzle. No chaos, no confusion, just precision and power. Mother of stars, Thane whispered. What kind of species moves like this? The largest vessel, designated Perseverance, took position above Korvath Prime. A communication request flashed on Mira's console. Her hands shook as she accepted it. A man's face appeared, weather-worn, serious, but with kind eyes. This is Captain James Reeves of the United Human Naval Ship Perseverance. We'd like to establish direct coordination with your ground forces. May we send a liaison team? Yes, Yelena said immediately. Yes, please. Landing coordinates incoming. 2 hours later, Mira stood on the scarred landing pad as a human shuttle descended through smoke-stained clouds. Her translator device hung around her neck, its software hastily updated with human language patterns. She'd volunteered for this, to be the first Korvathi to meet their mysterious saviors face to face. The shuttle door opened. 3 humans emerged in crisp uniforms. The first was a woman with sharp features and calculating eyes, Lieutenant Sofia Mendez. Behind her came 2 soldiers, and finally, a woman in white with medical insignia. Dr. Nadia Ivanova stepped onto Korvathi soil and immediately looked around. Not with a warrior's assessment, but with scientific curiosity and something deeper, compassion. Her blue eyes met Mira's amber ones, and for a moment, neither spoke. You're the one who sent the signal, Nadia said softly, the translator rendering her words into Korvathi. I heard your voice, your courage. Mira blinked, surprised. I was just doing my duty. Duty doesn't make your hands stop shaking, Nadia replied, stepping closer. But you did it anyway. That's not duty. That's bravery. Something warm unfurled in Mira's chest, a feeling she'd thought dead under months of fear and loss. I'm Mira Voss, communications officer, Nadia Ivanova, doctor, xenobiologist, and apparently now a combat medic. She smiled, and it transformed her serious face into something radiant. Though I'd rather be studying your fascinating bioluminescent markings than treating wounds. Mira touched her temple self-consciously, where silver patterns glowed faint against her blue-gray skin. They're just genetic markers. They're beautiful, Nadia said simply. Sophia cleared her throat pointedly. Doctor, Officer Voss, perhaps we should move this reunion to the command center? The Harvesters aren't known for respecting romantic moments. Mira's face flushed darker. That wasn't... But Nadia was grinning. Lead the way, Officer Voss. Show us where we can help. The command center buzzed with activity as humans and Korvathi worked side by side. Captain Reeves stood with General Thane, studying holographic displays of Harvester positions. Sophia coordinated with Korvathi tactical officers, her fingers dancing across unfamiliar controls with quick adaptation. Nadia stayed near Mira, ostensibly to understand Korvathi physiology for medical purposes. But their conversations drifted beyond medicine, to music, to art, to the small, beautiful things that made life worth saving. On Earth, we have these birds called nightingales, Nadia said during a brief lull. They sing in the darkness. People say their songs are hopeful, but I think they're just alive, refusing to be silent. Like the distress signal, Mira said quietly. Like you. Nadia's hand brushed against Mira's, a brief contact that sent warmth through both of them. You refused to be silent, and the whole galaxy heard you. Above them, the human armada completed its deployment. Captain Reeves addressed both species over the joint channel, his voice calm and certain. Korvathi forces, human forces in approximately 6 hours. The Harvesters will reach the outer defense perimeter. They have numbers. They have momentum. But we have something they'll never understand. He paused. We have each other. We have a reason to fight. And we will not let them take one more life from this world. Yelena stood beside Thane, watching the humans prepare with methodical efficiency. They fight like they've done this before, she observed. They have, Thane replied grimly, accessing human military records they'd shared. Against themselves. Their unification wars killed millions. But they learned. They unified. Now they fight as one. That makes them more dangerous, Yelena said. Or more valuable as allies. In a quiet corner, Mira and Nadia stole a moment together. The doctor checked Mira's vital signs with gentle hands, her touch lingering longer than medically necessary. Your heart rate is elevated, Nadia noted. We're about to face annihilation. Or, Nadia said softly, her face close to Mira's. You're standing very close to someone who makes you nervous for entirely different reasons. Mira's breath caught. Dr. Ivanova, Nadia, please, Nadia. The name felt right. After this, if there is an after, there will be, Nadia promised, her hand cupping Mira's cheek gently. I'm not letting the universe take you away now that I've found you. Their foreheads touched, a gesture of intimacy in both their cultures it turned out. In that moment, surrounded by preparations for war, They found something worth surviving for. The alarm shattered the moment. Sophia's voice rang clear. Harvester forces detected. They're early. They're here. Fire in the void erupted with death. Harvester ships poured through the outer system like a dark flood. Thousands of angular black vessels, each one a machine designed for only one purpose: destruction. Their weapons carved red lines across space, methodical and merciless. Captain James Reeves stood calm on the bridge of Perseverance, watching the tactical display with calculating eyes. All ships, formation Delta 7. Sophia, relay firing solutions to the fleet. Coordinates sent, sir, Sophia replied, her fingers moving with practiced precision across the controls. Harvester Vanguard will reach optimal range in 90 seconds. On Corvath Prime, Mira watched the same display from the command center, Nadia beside her. The human doctor's hand found hers, squeezing gently. They'll win, Nadia whispered, though her voice trembled slightly. James has never lost a fleet engagement. There's always a first time, General Thane muttered, his old soldier's instincts recognizing the impossible odds. The harvesters opened fire first. Thousands of crimson beams sliced through space, enough firepower to vaporize planets. The Corvathi who'd faced these weapons before flinched instinctively, but humanity didn't flinch. The forward ships of the human armada shimmered as energy shields flared brilliant blue. The harvester beams struck the barriers and dissipated like rain against stone. Not a single human vessel took damage from that first devastating salvo. Impossible, Yelena breathed. We never built shields that strong. Because you never fought yourselves, Thane said quietly. They built these to survive human weapons. James's voice cut through the fleet channel, calm as still water. All ships, return fire. The human armada answered with light. Hundreds of ships fired as one. Railguns accelerating projectiles to relativistic speeds, plasma cannons painting space with blue fire, missile pods releasing swarms of smart weapons. The void itself seemed to tear apart under the coordinated assault. The leading edge of the harvester fleet simply disintegrated. Hulls cracked, reactors exploded. Machines that had never known defeat died by the dozens. By the ancestors, Mira whispered, tears streaming down her face. They're doing it. The harvesters adapted. They always did. The swarm split into smaller formations, trying to surround the human fleet from multiple vectors. Their numbers were still overwhelming. For every harvester destroyed, 3 more pushed forward. Sophia saw the pattern instantly. Sir, they're attempting a pincer maneuver. If they complete it, they'll have overlapping fields of fire. Then we don't let them complete it, James said. He opened the fleet channel. Wings 3 and 7, break formation. Execute maneuver shattered glass. 2 entire wings of human ships, fast corvettes and destroyers, suddenly scattered like glass shards, each one racing toward the harvester flanks at impossible speeds. They darted through enemy fire with reckless precision, striking and vanishing before the machines could target them effectively. They fly like they're dancing, Mira said in awe. They fly like they're one organism. Thane corrected. Look, no confusion, no collisions. Every pilot knows exactly where every other pilot will be. Nadia smiled despite the tension. Humans train together from childhood in simulations. We grow up learning to move as one. It's how we survived our own wars. But the harvesters had their own surprises. From the center of their swarm, something emerged that made even James's expression tighten. 3 massive dreadnoughts, each one the size of a city, bristling with weapons that could crack moons. The first dreadnought fired. Its main cannon released a beam so intense it turned space white. A human carrier, the Resolution, took the hit directly. Its shields lasted 2 seconds before collapsing. The beam carved through the hull like paper. In the command center, Mira cried out as she watched the carrier break apart, escape pods ejecting in desperate clusters. Nadia's face went pale. That was 3,000 people. And they bought us time, James said over the channel, his voice hard with controlled grief. Wings 4 and 6, bracket that dreadnought. Sophia targeting solution. Reactors, simultaneous strike. Calculations complete, sir. Transmitting now. 50 human ships converged on the dreadnought from multiple angles. They moved through withering fire, ships exploded, hulls cracked, crews died. But the survivors never wavered. They reached their positions and fired together. 50 beams of concentrated plasma struck the dreadnought's exposed reactor cores in the same instant. The massive machine convulsed once, then exploded with the force of a small star. The shockwave scattered harvester ships like leaves, but 2 dreadnoughts remained, and the human fleet was bleeding. Ships burned. Escape pods filled space. Each loss was hundreds of lives, people who'd traveled across the galaxy for strangers. Why? Yelena asked Nadia quietly. Why do they keep fighting? They could retreat. They could— No, Nadia said firmly, watching the battle with tears on her cheeks. Humans don't retreat when someone needs us. It's our greatest strength and our most terrible flaw. We'd rather die together than live knowing we abandoned someone. On the Perseverance, an alert flashed. Sophia's voice was tight. Sir, the second dreadnought is targeting the planet. If that beam hits— It won't, James interrupted. He opened a channel to 3 nearby cruisers. This is Reeves to the Defiance, indomitable and steadfast. I need you to block that shot. A pause. Then 3 voices answered in sequence. Understood, Captain. It's been an honor. The 3 cruisers moved into position between the dreadnought and Corvath Prime. Mira watched in horror as she realized what they were doing. No, she whispered. No, they can't, the dreadnought fired. The beam struck the 3 cruisers head-on. Their shields held for precious seconds, long enough to dissipate the worst of the energy. Then they exploded, one after another, their sacrifice saving millions below. Mira collapsed against Nadia, sobbing. The doctor held her tight, her own tears falling into Mira's hair. This is what humanity does, Nadia whispered brokenly. We pay the price. We always pay the price, but their sacrifice enraged the fleet. James's voice, when it came, carried an edge of cold fury. All ships, maximum burn. Target the remaining dreadnoughts. I don't care what it costs. End them. The human armada surged forward like a living thing, no longer fighting for strangers, but for fallen comrades. They poured fire into the dreadnoughts with relentless fury. Ships died, but 10 more took their place. Every loss only sharpened humanity's determination. The second dreadnought fell, then the third. The Harvester command ship, hidden in the swarm's center, tried to retreat. But humanity had marked it. Sophia coordinated the strike with lethal precision. All heavy units converge on target Omega. Fire on my mark. Dozens of the largest human ships, battle cruisers and carriers, fired together. The combined barrage was like a collapsing star. The Harvester command ship lasted 3 seconds before it vaporized completely. Without their command node, the Harvester swarm faltered. Their coordination broke. Ships drifted or fought blindly. The human fleet swept through them like a scythe through wheat, destroying the remnants with methodical efficiency. Finally, silence returned to space. Burning wreckage drifted in every direction. The Harvesters were gone, but the cost was visible in the gaps in humanity's formation. Dozens of ships lost. Thousands of lives ended. In the command center, Yelena, Thane, Mira, and Nadia stared at the aftermath in stunned disbelief. They won, Mira whispered. They actually won? They didn't just win, Thane said softly. They bled for us. They died for us. Nadia held Mira close, both of them shaking with reaction and grief, an overwhelming relief. And in the darkness of space, humanity's scarred armada held position, watching over the world they'd saved. Aftermath and Promises dawn broke over Corvath Prime for the first time in months. Real dawn, not the red glow of burning cities. Mira stood on the roof of the command center, watching the sky clear as human atmospheric processors cleaned the smoke. Nadia stood beside her, their hands intertwined. It's beautiful, Nadia said softly. Your world, even scarred like this, it's beautiful. It exists because of you, Mira replied. She turned to face the doctor, her amber eyes shining. Because of all of you, I don't know how we can ever— Nadia pressed a finger gently to Mira's lips. You don't have to. That's not why we came. Then why? Because it was right. Because you asked. Because— Nadia hesitated, then smiled. Because the universe is better when we help each other. Above them, the human fleet maintained orbit, conducting repairs and recovering their dead. 37 ships had been destroyed completely. Another 100 were damaged. Over 4,000 humans had died in the battle, their names already being recorded, their sacrifices memorialized. In the rebuilt council chamber, Yelena met with Captain Reeves. The human stood relaxed despite the weight of command, his uniform showing scorch marks from a brief hull breach. "Your people saved us," Yelena said simply. "We owe you everything." James shook his head. "You owe us nothing. But I would ask something of you." Yelena tensed. Here it comes, she thought. The price.
"What do you want?"
"Remember," James said quietly. "Remember that someone answered when you called. Because someday, Captain, it might be us sending the distress signal. It might be humanity crying into the dark. And when that day comes, we'll hope someone answers the way we answered you." Yelena felt tears in her eyes. "You're not conquerors. No, we've been conquerors. We've been victims. We've been everything in our history. Now we're trying to be something better. People who help, not because we gain from it, but because we can." General Thane entered with Lieutenant Mendez, both carrying data tablets. Sophia's sharp eyes held a new respect as she nodded to the Korvathi general. "We've completed the tactical analysis," Thane said. "The harvesters will regroup eventually. They always do. But with the defense platforms humanity is offering to help us build..." He paused, struggling with emotion. "We'll be ready. For the first time in years, we'll be ready." "The fleet is also leaving supply caches," Sophia added. "Weapons, medicine, construction materials. Consider it a loan between friends. Repay us by helping the next species that calls for aid." The meeting continued with logistics and planning, but Mira and Nadia had slipped away to walk through the recovering city. Korvathi citizens emerged from shelters, staring in wonder at the human ships above. Children pointed and laughed, the first laughter in so long. They reached a small park, somehow untouched by the destruction. Mira led Nadia to a bench beneath a tree with silver leaves that chimed softly in the breeze. "I have to tell you something," Mira said, her voice trembling. "The fleet is leaving tomorrow, and you'll go with them." "Yes," Nadia said softly. "I don't want you to go." The words burst out of Mira like a confession. "I know we just met. I know it's crazy. But these past few days, watching you work with our people, seeing your compassion, your strength, Nadia, I don't want to lose you." Nadia turned to face her fully, taking both of Mira's hands. "I submitted a transfer request this morning. I'm staying." Mira's breath caught. "What?" "Humanity is leaving a support team. Engineers, medical personnel, advisors. I volunteered to head the medical contingent." "If you'll have me." Nadia smiled, vulnerable and hopeful. "Someone needs to study those beautiful bioluminescent patterns of yours properly." Mira laughed through sudden tears. Then, with a courage born from surviving the impossible, she leaned forward and pressed her lips to Nadia's. The kiss was gentle, tentative. Two species, two worlds, finding connection in the aftermath of war. When they pulled apart, Nadia was smiling radiantly. "I'll take that as a yes." "Stay," Mira whispered. "Stay and teach us. Help us rebuild. And maybe," she blushed darker, "maybe we can learn about each other." "Really learn. I'd like that," Nadia said, pulling Mira close. "I'd like that very much." Above them, the human fleet began preparations for departure. Most would leave, returning to protect their own space, but a small contingent would remain. Volunteers who chose to stay and help, to build bridges between species, to ensure the Korvathi would never face darkness alone again. In the command center, Yelena addressed both species on a joint broadcast. Her voice carried across the planet and up to the orbiting ships. "Today, the Korvathi learned a truth that will echo through all our generations. We cried into the darkness, and humanity answered. Not with words, not with promises, but with action, with sacrifice, with bloodshed for strangers. We asked for help, and an entire species said yes." She paused, looking at James, Sophia, and the other humans present. "You showed us what it means to be strong, not through conquest, but through compassion, not through dominance, but through unity. We will never forget, and when someone else cries for help, we will answer, because you taught us that this is what it means to be worthy of the stars." James stepped forward. "Humanity doesn't ask for worship or debt. We ask only that you remember and that you pay it forward. Help others when you can. Fight for those who can't fight for themselves. That's the only payment we want, for this act of kindness to spread across the galaxy like ripples in water." As the meeting concluded, Mira and Nadia returned hand in hand. They found Sophia preparing her shuttle for departure. "Taking good care of my doctor?" Sophia asked with a slight smile. "The best care," Mira promised. "Good, because if you break her heart, I know where you live." But Sophia's eyes twinkled. Seriously though, I'm glad. Nadia deserves happiness. And Officer Voss, thank you for being brave enough to send that signal. You saved your world, but you also showed humanity something important. You reminded us why we unified, why we chose to be better. The final departures happened at sunset. Ship by ship, the human armada withdrew, engines glowing like farewell stars. The Korvathi people gathered in city centers and on rooftops, waving to the sky, chanting names they'd learned: Reeves, Mendez, names of ships and fallen heroes. Mira stood with Nadia, watching Perseverance turn toward home. The doctor had tears on her cheeks. Will you miss it? Mira asked. Your ship, your people? I'm not leaving my people, Nadia said, squeezing Mira's hand. I'm joining new people, expanding my definition of us. That's what humanity does best. We keep growing our circle of who matters. As the last human warship disappeared into the void, Yelena spoke to her people one final time. They came, they fought, they won. But more than that, they stayed, some of them. Not as conquerors or masters, but as friends, as teachers, as partners in rebuilding. Today, the Korvathi stand not as victims, but as survivors. And tomorrow we will stand as allies to any who call for help. Mira turned to Nadia under the darkening sky. Thank you. For everything. For coming, for staying, for seeing me. Nadia cupped Mira's face gently. Thank you for being brave enough to call. For refusing to accept silence. You changed everything, Mira Voss. You brought two species together. They kissed again as stars emerged overhead. Some human ships still visible as moving lights. Some Korvathi stars, ancient and eternal. Two species, two hearts, beginning something new in the aftermath of war. Above Korvath Prime, humanity's gift remained: defense platforms, supply caches, and a small permanent station where humans and Korvathi would work side by side. A symbol of what was possible when species chose cooperation over conquest. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the galaxy watched and wondered. Humanity had revealed itself, not as another empire hungry for expansion, but as something the universe had rarely seen. A species that answered cries for help, that fought for others, that paid the price without demanding payment. Some races felt hope, others felt fear. All of them remembered the day humanity moved like an armada and changed the balance of the galaxy forever. But on Korvath Prime, in a park with silver-chiming trees, two women from different worlds held each other close and dreamed of a future built not on war, but on the promise that no one would ever cry alone into the darkness again, because humanity had answered once, and they would answer again.